Hello, everyone. So we're about to kickstart today's webinar. My name is Emmanuel Ebeshi. I am going to be your host for today's webinar on regenerative agriculture, restoring soil health for climate resilience. I take that again. Regenerative agriculture, restoring soil health for climate resilience. And to better educate us on today's topic is none other than Mr. Wilfred Agaji, who is a veteran in the field. Um, Mr. Wilfred is here. Please, can you say hello to our participants, sir?
Good evening, everybody. I'm Wilfred Agaji. In my short sojourn on Earth, I've been several things, but the one I treasure most is a farmer. So I'm here to address us today and learn from everybody as a farmer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wilfred. We are looking forward to learning more from you as well, sir. Thank you. So,
Thank you.
yes, for those just joining, our guest speaker for today is Mr. Wilfred Agaji. I'm going to give a deep dive into who Mr. Wilfred is by reading his bio out for all of us. So, Mr. Wilfred Agaji is an elsewhere banker with over 10 years of experience, particularly on agribusiness financing. Having worked with Fidelity and Keystone banks, this DEX has managed over 50 billion naira in agricultural portfolios under the Central Bank of Nigeria's intervention schemes, with a background in zoology, fisheries, and hydrobiology. Mr. Agaji's expertise spans agribusiness finance, farm management, and agricultural commodity value chain management. He is a technical advisor on agribusiness finance. He is married with children and actively involved in professional bodies. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest speaker, Mr. Wilfred Agaji. Thank you so much for taking out the time to be here, Mr. Wilfred, and also to our participants. Thank you for taking out the time to be here with us today. We're going to dive into the webinar and start having this conversation around regenerative agriculture and how restoring soil health for climate resilience is important to each and every one of us as farmers. So, Mr. Wilfred, how would you define regenerative agriculture in practical terms that smallholder farmers can relate to?
Well, regenerative agriculture is such that that word regenerative, that means naturally biosystems, ecosystems generate themselves. However, because of human interference, in many ways, both human, that is biotic and abiotic, and other ecological factors, these systems do not regenerate as they should. So naturally, and these systems gives us less performance than they should be. However, this regenerative agriculture focuses on what enhances the soil health, biodiversity, ecosystem services, while promoting sustainable farming. And the core principles include minimizing external input, building soil organic matter, and enhancing biodiversity. If this is put in place naturally, the soil, because there are factors, the major factors in agriculture is solar radiation, moisture, and soil. In the case of climate change and less adaptability to these changes this day, we are concerned mostly about moisture, to some extent solar radiation, but few people talk about soil. If the health of the soil is taken care of, that is, in fact, if these three factors are considered to be taking equal weight, it means 30% of the problem is solved. And healthy soil has capacity to hold much water. And healthy soil have capacity to even generate micro and macronutrients for the plants. And healthy soil can also determine the quality of output, both quantity and quality. In short, that is what regenerative agriculture means, especially with regards to soil health. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wilfred. That was really, 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 really insightful, specifically on how healthy soil can actually affect the outputs of our farming. I'm sure most of us as farmers, this is I think this is common knowledge. We should know, we all majority of the people here know this, but from the angle you came at it, you explained how regenerative agriculture as a whole plays a part in also ensuring that the soil is is healthy for us to have our result or our good farm produce. So thank you for breaking it down. We would welcome everyone or the new people who just joined in. Thank you for joining us. We are well on our way in the webinar. Our guest speaker already started speaking to today's topic, which is regenerative agriculture or restoring soil health for climate resilience. So we're going to move to our second question for him. What reliable signs can farmers look for to know whether their soil is improving or degrading over time? I take that again. What reliable signs can farmers look for to know whether their soil is improving or degrading over time?
There are indicators. In fact, I want to take it from this angle. There was some times ago, several years ago, about 10 years ago in Kaduna State, people were buying vegetable in the market, and even when the vegetables were well prepared, sanitized, and so on, people were having diarrhea. Initially, they were suspecting, are people using human waste to fertilize? Is it poultry waste? And so they looked at so many things, and surprisingly, it wasn't. What was the problem? The water that was being used to irrigate those areas was very, very high in iron content. And because the iron content in the vegetables were high, thank God, iron is not heavy metal, but it resulted into widespread dysentery. That is because of the health of the soil. However, this kind of indicator is not what you can actually see, but this indicator is very, very important in that the water you are irrigating your field with, it matters. I also know about another incident that has to do with livestock. The laying birds were not producing, they were falling ill at all times and so on. And they did water analysis. Yes, something was wrong, but you know what? The borehole was, it wasn't a borehole, it was just the deep well. The deep well they sourced their water from was on a abandoned refuse dump.
Wow.
These are the kind of effects that soil have on several aspects of agriculture. However, to get a hold on soil health, there are certain monitors. And healthy soil will have a biodiversity of organisms. And one of the easiest one is, even as children, when we play in the field, we used to dig earthworms. Any soil you see earthworm means that that soil is healthy. It is healthy, that is why the earthworm can survive in it. It is healthy because there is enough organic matter in that soil for earthworms to feed on. So that is one indicator, earthworms in a soil. Also the soil structure. For example, these two extreme soil types are the sandy soil and the clay soil. If you take the sandy soil, you cannot mold it, it cannot hold moisture. Its capacity to retain heat is very, very high, and its capacity to lose it is also high. And then if you go to the other extreme, which is clay, it retains water to such an extent that even the plants cannot retrieve water from it. It is very sticky, So if you have a soil that is midway between, that is what we call loamy soil. There are several soils. So if the soil is more like loamy, that is another indicator of a very, very good soil type. And to get a very good soil, there are certain practices that we can do and to make it healthy. And the cheapest one, I will say, is mulching. When you get the cover crops and all the other vegetable matter on the soil, it is very, very good to allow them to decay on that soil. And a soil that can support the decay of vegetable matters means that that soil is rich in bioactive life that can give right to it. Because bioactive life in form of microbes, such as bacteria, fungi, and some very, very good ones, they act on these vegetable matters and decompose them to macro and micro ingredients. Macro and micro ingredients that can be used. Those are the few indicators of a very, very good soil health. That these are things that can have impact on soil. And when you look at soil, I think it is very, very obvious when we see a soil that is dark, has matter, organic matter, a soil that holds moisture. It's very, very easy for us to say that this is a very rich soil compared to when we see desert or soil that is very clean. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wilfred. Picked up a lot from this. First of all, having the water you use for the farm being from a very good source, not an unhealthy source like the scenario you mentioned. Also having to ensure that you do not have waste leaking into the farm from any point, and also having mulching being good for the soil, and also using loamy soil as a preferred soil for planting. I think this part of the conversations mentioned a lot of things, and I want to know if other members of the participants have any question. I think I noticed someone had his hand up earlier, and Mr. Aliu. Okay, Mr. Ali is not with us and he left the meeting. Okay, so does anyone else have any questions so that we can just have an engaging session here? Okay, you can raise up your hand if you have any question, and then you can direct it at Mr. Wilfred. But if we don't, we can move on. Okay, so let's move on. So we just spoke about reliable signs farmers can look out for to know whether their soil is improving or improving over time. Mr. Wilfred gave a bit of insight into from the type of soil that's prepared for farming, loamy soil, to how mulching can be very for the soil too, and also how the decomposition of micro and macro organisms. Let's move on to cost, practical cost techniques. So, what will include soil improvement? Oh, give me a minute. Okay. What low input soil improvement practices can smallholder farmers start with, especially those working on tight budgets? I take that again. What low input soil improvement practices can smallholder farmers start with, especially those working on tight budgets?
Well, I understand that aspect of budget. For example, earlier this year, some countries in the Middle East, I think Kuwait and Saudi Arabia, they were importing cattle dung from India. You see, the cattle dung that our herdsmen are trekking up and down the length and breadth of this country and dissipating. Indians are selling cattle dung because they have corralled those cattle in the same place to people in the Middle East, using that cattle dung to ameliorate the state of their soil. The Indians, I learned most of them don't eat cattle. They revere them very well. The Middle Easterners, cattle is one of the animals they offer as sacrifices, and they don't deify it. But to ameliorate their soil, these two people with differing concepts about cattle have to come hand in hand. But that is a very expensive one. Loading cattle dung into ships as if it is a crude oil to take to another country just to ameliorate their soil. There are cheaper ways of doing this. And first and foremost is that every soil, however poor it is, have capacity for some specific, in fact, some specific vegetation. When they are growing on the soil, you know, this soil is poor and all that. But those vegetation can easily be harvested and used in mulching or composted in that soil. That is one of the cheapest ways to do it. Another way of doing this is also to get leguminous seeds. Leguminous seeds like cowpea, peanut, soya. Sometimes this is even done not to harvest the seed in a profitable quantity yield, but because it can replace the nitrogen fixing bacteria, because these leguminous seeds, they have nodules, nitrifying bacteria that can fix nitrogen into the soil. It is such that now there are commercial preparation like Actiseed, Nodule Max, and so on, that you mix with your seed and sow in the soil. And I know that when you do that, it will take another 2 or 3 years, because these are living organisms, they will multiply themselves. Even our actions on our soil, because we are fond of burning the material on our soil. And when we burn this material, the temperature increases to such that the natural organic, the microbials in the soil are not able to survive it. So there are activities we can promote, like mulching, crop rotation, sowing leguminous plants. We can promote these actions. While there are some that we can discourage, such as burning of grasses and other things on the soil, such as even, because one aspect of regenerative agriculture is to minimize external input. And what are these input? Synthetic pesticides, synthetic herbicides, even synthetic fertilizers, which are not friendly to the soil. Yes, when we start this, initially, it will cost somebody who wants its soil to be regenerative. There will be reduced yield. There will be lower yield. That is why we advise people that, okay, if you have a holding, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 hectares, you want to regenerate the soil, what you should do, don't do all at once. Start gradually. Maybe you take 1/10 of your farm, regenerate that. When that has started yielding positive result, you take another portion again, you step it, you scale it up gradually. These are ways in which we can easily regenerate the soil without massive fund being deployed to it. There are practices we are doing already, which we can scale up and do more of it. There are practices that are bad, which we can minimize, and naturally, the soil, that will be a very cheap way of getting the soil regenerated. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much once again. That was very insightful. I believe we are way into this conversation. I want to know what the audience thinks. If they have any questions for us, please, the audience, do you have any questions for our guest speaker? We have him for just an hour, so let's tap into as much of his knowledge as possible. Okay, so yes, please carry on. I can see your hand, Miss. Okay, Cashew Cooperative Limited. Is that Mr. Gabriel?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, this is
Okay.
Mr. Gilbert. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Gabriel. Please carry on.
I'm actually on the road. So I don't actually have much question to ask because actually everything he said, we do that on the farm. And that's why I think I don't want to ask any question. I'm waiting to see maybe towards the end, maybe there's something that will warrant me to ask a question. But however, regenerative agriculture is what we, the people at the rural community, already have been doing. This was transferred to us from our forefathers. You cultivate here, you leave it for some years, you go back to another place, like that. But maybe before the end of the program, maybe there will be one or two questions that I want to ask. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank
Gabriel.
you, Mr. Gabriel. Thank you for even that idea of shifting, what we call shifting cultivation. Even though the security challenges today and the pressure on land does not allow us to practice it much, but thank you for drawing our attention to it. Even when somebody has a holding of, say, 10 hectares or something like that, in a way, you can also either improvise or institute a shifting method and allow the soils to regenerate. But another quicker way of doing that is practicing crop rotation and especially using leguminous plants to replenish the soil nitrogen, which is one of the macronutrients that plants really need. Thank you very much, Mr. Gabriel.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Gabriel. Thank you also, Mr. Wilfred. Let's move on. Let's move on to another question. We still have at least 30 minutes. So we hopefully, like Mr. Gabriel said, before the end of the webinar, more conversations will come up that would lead to more questions, and we can have a really engaging webinar here. So let's turn towards climate change itself and the farm resilience as a whole. In what ways does maintaining or increasing soil organic matter help farms cope with irregular rainfall patterns? I take that again. In what ways does maintaining or increasing soil organic matter help farms cope with irregular rainfall patterns?
You know, when we talk about climate change, I think the major and probably the greatest challenge to all of us concerned, especially smallholder farmers, is rainfall, maintaining water. And you can see in the lifespan of certain crops, especially certain crops like maize. Maize is one of the energy crops we consume a lot. They are very, very sensitive to moisture. For example, during the tasseling period, maybe between 6 weeks and 12 weeks, if maize does not have the required moisture, it may never recover again, regardless of the input. At that tasseling stage, which is like flowering. Now, if you have a very, very healthy soil, there are certain things it can do for you. Number one, there are some places that if rain fall today, I used to be around Maiduguri and such places. Rain can fall in the morning, and by evening, when you look at the soil, you would think it has never seen rain in the last 1 year. because everything will have evaporated. You won't see any. So what am I saying? A healthy soil is able to retain water much longer, and then it is now available to the roots much longer. That is one very, very good way that the impact of climate change can be ameliorated with a healthy soil. Another way is that recently, especially in South America, they have even discovered that even cereal crops, cereals like maize, like sorghum, millet, there are some bacteria that work symbiotically in their root to fix some nutrient. So if the soil is healthy, there will be microbes that are, it's just like in the gut of a ruminant, even human beings. We have probiotic bacteria that is living symbiotically with us. It is the same way in the soil and with the interface between the root and the soil. There are some healthy, beneficial bacteria and fungi and other classes of microbes that are fixing micronutrients, trace elements, and such for the plant. So a very healthy soil can easily ameliorate the effect of climate change. Another way to get a very resilient soil to climate change is mulching. When you mulch, the evaporation of water from the soil is minimized. When you mulch, the temperature change, diurnal temperature change, and so on, is not as drastic as it is against the plants. So a very healthy soil can improve the water holding capacity to an extent. For example, some people will tell you, you have three different farms. In a whole 2 or 3 weeks, there is no rain in the neighborhood or in that area. But the places that have soils that can retain water much longer, just for example, somebody that is doing lowland rice, and then rain did not fall for quite some time, you will realize that the areas whose soil cannot hold water, the yield, the progress of such plants there will be less than the soil that have capacity to hold water. And that capacity to hold water is directly related to the organic matter, to the vegetable covering, and such things. So a healthy soil can ameliorate against climate change. A healthy soil is more resilient against the negative effects of climate change. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Wilfred. I see how your response around soil itself, which is important because okay, I think Mr. Gabriel has a question. Mr. Gabriel, please proceed.
What did you do at it? Well, my own is not actually a question. It's just an addition to what he has said. This climate change is actually affecting a lot of farmers because of lack of knowledge. And I think one thing we need to do is to sensitize the farmers, especially those at the rural community. For example, monitoring the pattern of rainfall. If you monitor about 2 years, you should get adapted to how it falls, so that whatever you are planting, you will follow suit. For example, we have always been told that, or we are aware of August break, but there is nothing like August break anymore. So in that period in August that you see often rain, that's another period you use in planting. So that August, September, that it will be gradually dropping by October, you will have escaped it. There are some plantations, for example, sesame seed, beans, and some other leguminous crops. That most times the plantation starts from around towards the end of August. But because of shift in pattern in rainfall, most people who still stick to that old status quo always, lose out. So I think there is the need to sensitize and educate the farmers as much as we can. From our own cooperative, we do that a lot. But a lot of farmers, again, because of lack of a medium for communication, they find it difficult to um, make true to it. For example, on my way to Kogi, I saw a lot of people who planted sesame seed lost it out because of lack of rainfall. Where they're supposed to plant, they fail to do it at that time, and they lose a lot. So there is a need for a lot of sensitization to let them know that this change has come to stay, and we must be careful with the pattern so that we don't lose out. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Gabriel. I'm very, very impressed with this thing you point out. Up till now, we are still shouting climate change, climate change. I'm sorry if I say shouting, but you pointed something out that we should be very, very conversant with the new pattern. See, for the past 10, 15 years, the pattern has changed, and it is time to agree that what the pattern is today is the new pattern. Yesterday, a lot of friends were sending me things. Initially, somebody in Ijushaga, Lagos, sent a video of heavy rain falling in Lagos, Ijushaga. This is almost December. Today is 30th. And later, somebody in Ilorin said that it was raining in Ilorin. Somebody somewhere in Ishenyi in Oyo State said the same thing. These are times that certain crops should be drying in the field, like maize, like sorghum, like millet. Rain right now means that if they don't take proactive action, it means it will be attacked by fungi, bacteria, and other things. So what we are getting today in Nigeria, it needs a lot of sensitization. It needs a lot of education to our rural farmers whose practice is based on what was handed over to them by their parents, by their community, by their culture. That, see, it is not business as usual. What we are still calling climate change now is the new normal. And another thing, there was one of my friends that suffered seriously the pattern of rainfall last year. And I told him that, see, for example, you are going to plant maize. You cannot, when you plant maize, almost immediately or the following day, there should be rain so that there will be moisture to sprout the seeds. And then, like 2 weeks immediately after, when they are tender, they need a lot of moisture. I now told him, how can you be doing this? There are even weather apps that are free on the internet. Nigerian NIMET, Nigerian Meteorological and this thing, also have an app that is free. If you are going to plant your maize or plant anything, you should be able to plot the graph of rainfall at least in the next 4 or 5 weeks, and you know the right day to plant. Not that you go and plant your maize today and in the next 7 days there won't be rainfall. If you are planting to plant your crop or whatever, you should be able to get some level of prediction. Yes, villagers they may not be using smartphone, but somebody like Mr. Gabriel, he said it's a cooperative. Even Mr. Gabriel can disseminate that information. Even though it is cashew, I know probably before the cashew grows up, they plant some other cover crops in between before the canopy develops. So people should be able to use technology. The villagers may not be able to, but we should be able to advise them, because I believe in ancient time, they go to the marabout or the medicine man in the community and say, you should look into the future, whether rain will fall. Should I go and plant or not plant? You understand such things. Now we have weather apps that can advise us on that. What we are calling climate change is the new weather normal. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wilfred and Mr. Gabriel, for your contributions to this particular aspect of the webinar. You covered several areas from sensitization, Mr. Gabriel, on the new weather conditions we have in the country, and also how farmers could also know when to plant by also studying the weather themselves by using weather apps, specifically NIMET's weather prediction app and all, which is actually very good. The thing is, we have to, as people in the agricultural space, in the value chain, we have to find ways to educate our smallholder farmers as much as we can. I'm sure Mr. Gabriel is doing that with his cooperative, like he stated, but also the webinar like this too. Hope it's a way of doing that as well. Most farmers that come on here live with information or new knowledge, and we would like to always promote things like this. So for those who just joined, this webinar is going to be hosted once every month. This is the November webinar. We would have one in December again, where we would like to focus on topics like this one. So we want to encourage all of you to keep coming. And together we can also help educate each and every one of ourselves on how to make agriculture better and may ensure that it thrives in Nigeria. So thank you, Mr. Wilfred. We'll take one more question, and then we would leave room for the audience to see if they have any questions of their own before we call it a day. So the next question is going to be centered around moving forward, steps to take. I know most of what we just said are steps we should take, but let's crown it all with one last statement on steps to take moving forward as farmers. So the question we have here is, if a farmer wants to start regenerative agriculture this season, what are the most critical first steps? I take that again. If a farmer wants to start regenerative agriculture this season, what are the most critical first steps?
I feel the first thing to do is start with mulching. That is available for, in fact, you don't even need to buy the weeds or the grasses that you need. You can cut it from your soil right there and then, lay them on it. If you cannot keep soil on it, just allow it to deteriorate in that soil. That is the cheapest, easiest, and what to do. There was a time that when I started my cashew plantation, the first thing we did was to just broadcast cowpea. Broadcast cowpea. Even when we planted, for the first 2 years, we were planting cowpea around it before the canopy developed. That is one critical step that is available to everybody, even without money. Because the weed, the soil will grow there naturally, even without money. Then the other thing is planting of leguminous plant. Probably you have been planting maize or planting another crop. You know, maize particularly is very selective about depleting a particular soil of certain macronutrients. But when you plant leguminous crops like soya, like granite, like cowpea, the nitrifying bacteria in their root will replenish the soil of some critical macro ingredients. These are very, very cheap things to do. And the other one, that is by doing crop rotation. And as Mr. Gabriel pointed out to us some times ago, it doesn't pay subjecting your soil, even if it is 5 hectares or less, continuously. It should rest. In fact, you can decide to abandon a particular area to rest for a year or two, and you will be shocked what it can do. These are the simple steps However, some of us live in an area where, for example, I know a particular market in Kaduna where in fact, I think close to 10 to 15 tons of fruit gets dumped in that market every day because there is no good storage facility and there is no processing mechanism. So a farmer can at least invest in going to take these things and dump them on his farm. Even that my cashew farm, something happened some times ago. There are some Fulani people living there. They have lived there for over 20 years. And when we were establishing that cashew plantation, we were advised that we should chase them away. I said, why? These people have been there for more than 20 years. We can't even speak their language, they can speak ours. Let them stay. We need the animals. I know people who go several miles, kilometers to go and buy cattle dung. My friend recently was made to pay 12,000 naira for a 100 kg bag of cattle dung. 12,000 naira. Now we see these Fulani men roaming around. Why can't we arrange with them and say, please come and stay in my farm? You know, most of the time when we harvest things in farm, the horns, that is the stems, the dried leaves, and so on, around November, December, January, February, these animals are looking for food. Instead of just passing through your farm, why not gather everything around and say, please stay here for 3 weeks? You will be shocked the kind of dung and urine they will dump on that farm. Dung may have to decompose, but urine is instant fertilizer. So these are the kind of cheap methods that smallholder farmers can use. This issue of Fulani, we profile all of them as bandits. Yes, some of them are bandits, but I think we can still live in a symbiotic way that will we can gain from. Even if the Fulani realizes that if he stays in one place, the urine of his animal is money, fertilizer, the dung is money. But when they trek up and down, they are lost. I know a time ago that somebody was looking for 10,000 liters of rabbit urine. He couldn't get rabbit urine. He later added goat urine to it. And I have seen cattle pee, and I think they do it in several liters. This is money. So a smallholder farmer, maybe in a community, can say, bring all your animals, stay here. Even if they go looking for food during the day, come and sleep here for the next 2 or 3 weeks. I know that where they call Fulani Rugas, one thing I have realized in life is that whenever any person farm in Fulani Ruga, you will see the plants will be more healthy, they will be taller, and the yield will be more. These are simple steps we can use to activate regenerative agriculture in our farms and our environments. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That was a very good send off response to the question. The whole aspect of having value addition on the waste from the cattle, and also the inclusion of the Fulani herdsmen, is actually impressive, because it's an approach that I feel is yet to be accepted or utilized on a larger scale. So I feel if we as farmers adopt this, creating dialogue with some of these Fulani farmers, it could be a win-win situation for everybody. I think we have a question from Vincent and Mr. Gabriel. So we'll take one from Vincent. His hand has been up for a while. Mr. Gabriel, just give us a minute. Vincent, please proceed.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. It's good to be here. Thank you for educating us, guest speaker. Mine is actually a question, and my question goes thus: what is the effect or the role, or what role does the application of organic and inorganic fertilizer have on regenerative agriculture? because I know most farmers or even smallholder farmers do have access to fertilizers as to enhance their productivity. So I want to know what are the effects or what role does it play in terms of regenerative agriculture, especially as it entails soil?
Thank you very much. Both inorganic, synthetic, and organic fertilizer have some effect on the soil. And there is the one that is best for regenerative. However, see, when we are talking about regenerative agriculture, they don't tell you entirely not to use inorganic. What they do is minimize it. You start by minimizing it because some of the soils are so depleted that if you don't use inorganic fertilizer, your yield will be so low that you will be discouraged. And they don't want it to start like that. What I will say is that it will have to be minimized. That is what regenerative agriculture will never tell you. Don't use inorganic, only use organic and all that. No, it will only tell you to minimize it. In fact, let me tell you this. You can get an organic fertilizer from a source that can be very detrimental. For example, you go and see a rubbish heap where they are dumping metals, dumping some hazardous bioindustrial effluent and so on, and you think it is organic, it is organic. No, it doesn't just go like that. It is such that the organic can even be detrimental. So what you start, minimize inorganic, increase your organic as much as possible, because inorganic, yes, the effect is more, it's very rapid, but it will kill the microbes in the soil. It will even provide only selected macro and micronutrients, and it will now degrade the soil within 2 or 3 years. So you reduce the synthetic, although you need result because your yield must be up to a point that it can sustain you for a while. And then you now start increasing the compost, the manure from animal source, vegetable source, until you can replace it completely. But you have to realize that when you use compost, it will have to demineralize first. And this demineralization can take between 6 months and 1 year before it is available to the plants. In fact, right now, most organic fertilizers, they blend them. Sometimes 25% of synthetic or 50% of synthetic is blended with 50% or 75% of organic, because that transition must be gradual. The soil it is the rich nature of the soil that determines the output. And regenerative farming is not the law of media and Persia. A lot of people go around Nigeria today, they will tell you, I only do organic, I only do organic. Let's be true to ourselves. There is only natural, there are few organics. Because if to get an organic certification is not small matter. For somebody, in fact, if it is certified organic, probably only Dangote and the Tinubu will be able to buy it. So when people are beating their chest that, I'm eating organic, look at what they are eating is natural. What our fathers are doing in the village, they are eating natural. It is not certified organic. And don't fool yourself, because organic cannot feed the world's population. Organic cannot do it. But that does not mean we will not try. With regenerative agriculture, gradually, the soil will be enriched. Everything will become natural, and it will be easier to become organic. Because when we talk of organic, okay, you have your field in this valley. It is 10 hectares. And then you have another field 100 kilometers away, where that person is dumping 30 tons of synthetic inorganic fertilizer. When rain fall, if you wash it into your field, you can't claim that it is organic anymore. Why I'm saying this is that our mind should not be bent that it has to be 100% compost manure. It is minimizing synthetic input and gradually to come out of it. For example, there is something that happens in poultry. When you want to change feed, when you bring your new feed the first day, you put 10%. The following day or the following week, you make it 25%. The next stage, you make it 50-50. The next stage, 75-25, and gradually 100% to the new feed. And the chicken does not react. The percentage of egg lay is still the same thing. It is still the same thing with regenerative. Regenerative, so I'm putting a lot of emphasis on this. Regenerative does not mean you go to that village and say, stop using synthetic fertilizer, throw them out, this and that, and so on. When they become hungry that year, they will never come near regenerative again. No. Let it be gradual and get another source of organic to replace it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wilfred. Okay, so I think Mr. Gabriel too has his hand up. Mr. Gabriel, please, can you proceed with your questions, or your contribution?
Okay, thank you so much. Well, the effect of, I just want to contribute to this question that was asked about the effect of organic fertilizer. Organic farming. Now, organic farming has great advantage over this inorganic farming because if your farm is certified organic, you, the farmer, tends to be paid more or what you sell. For example, Kogi State cashew is certified, or from our cooperative in Kogi State, our cashew in Kogi is certified organic. So we pay, they pay more to buy our cashew. Unlike our members in Enugu who uses fertilizer because of the residue that were detected. So if you go about organic farming, you earn more than when you do inorganic farming. Having said this, again, to human health, most of these sicknesses, doctors have come up with. Sorry, who is not talking? Can you mute if you're not?
Yeah, I've
Doctors have
muted.
also come out to give a report that most of the food or the sicknesses, most of them are caused by you know uh, chemicals applied in our food. That is farming, and that is the reason why there's a lot of shift to organic farming, so that all of this can be minimized. Just like our guest speaker said, it will do us more good. That is why if you go to some supermarket, you will see them label organic, inorganic. And if you see that of organic, if for example both of them are mango and one is labeled organic, the other is inorganic, you find out that that mango that is labeled organic, the price is higher than that of inorganic. So these are the effects and the benefits accrued to all of this, and it is very important. But again, like most of our people at the rural community, I am from the rural community. I stay with them. We don't even see fertilizer. We don't. What we practice is shifting cultivation and all of that. We don't see fertilizer because we keep hearing on the radio that XYZ has been released to farmers. Who are these farmers? Because of transporting fertilizer from the city to the village is too much that the farmer will not even want to apply. So we use our natural way of cropping, and that is why we use the cooperative to sensitize our farmers. Our farmers are not just only cashew farmers; they are also into other crops like cassava, maize, beans, soya beans, pineapple, ginger, and so on and so forth. So it's an avenue that we use in training and educating our members on all of this. I want to appreciate our guest speaker who has actually talked on that regenerative agriculture because the English, so my friend will say this is effective English, come to come down to our rural people so that they can understand. So I think it's very important that we make ourselves available to all of the happenings in agricultural sector, especially with the current happening in the climate change. It has come to stay, and if we must survive, we must accept the truth and go with it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gabriel. Your contributions have been very, very impactful on today's webinar. So I think we have come to the end of today's webinar. It's exactly 5 p.m. Before we end, I want to know if there's any other question. If anyone has any question or contribution before we call it a day. I see Mr. Shegun has a question. Okay, he says, what are the vegetables, fruits that a farmer can grow in this dry season, bearing in mind that the price has dropped drastically? Mr. Wilfred.
Well,
okay.
you know, vegetables are short-term things. First and foremost, when you farm, most of the time it is better to work the equation from the answer. What is the market you have? It's very, very important. Mr. Gabriel just said something. You know, organic cashew is more expensive than ordinary cashew. If there is no market for organic cashew, they will be forced to sell at the price of people being synthetic. So a very good answer is, what is the market first? Because there is no sense farming and harvesting bountifully only for there to be no market. A typical example is this northern farming for tomato. You know, about 3-4 months ago, when the rain has drastically reduced in the north, they start farming their tomato. Yes. So just a moment.
Okay, let's give
they start farming their tomato. So they will harvest all at the same time. You can see the way the price of tomato has crashed today in the market. You have to understand that. Sit down, sir. Okay. So first and foremost, get your market. However, several things can be farmed now. For example, people who are going to farm tomato in the next 2 months, most especially, let me say the next 2 months, they will harvest it around June and July when tomato is most expensive. But they have challenge too, because managing tomato, Ebola, wilt, and so on, they need that knowledge. But every vegetable can be farmed now. All you need is water. Every plant needs sunlight, need water, and need good soil. So saying which one can you plant now, it doesn't matter. It is the market you are targeting. And as a vegetable farmer, don't ever be targeting the peak period when it is most expensive. It is better to farm continuously, always be in the market. So now you can farm pepper, you can farm tomato, you can farm onion, you can farm amaranthus, you can farm everything can be farmed. But please try and get the market right first. And I won't just keep quiet on this matter. Mr. Gabriel, if you are still around, I would like to hear your opinion on this matter. Thank you.
Okay. On this, of course, that is the correct thing, because there's no point. Well, when they say the price has actually dropped drastically, well, from our own point of view, it has not, because who are the people? The people, what is the buying capacity? What is happening, just like he mentioned, is that people went into it massively, and at the same time, all got into the market, and the price was forced to come down because the farmer cannot take them back home, or he does not have a good warehouse facility and all of that. So, of course, again, don't forget the middlemen play their own role too. You know, some of them go to the farm gate to pick most of these things from the farm gate. They bring it to the farmer. So the farmer sells to them cheaply because he doesn't have anywhere to keep his at the mercy of the man who comes in It's either you buy, I'm buying it for 10 naira. It's either you sell it to me or you forget it. And the farmer will have no choice but to give it. And then, of course, the middleman will just add some things and bring it into the market. That is why, but give it the next 1 or 2 months. All of this that we think it has come down will all rise again because we don't have price control. That's one. We don't have good storage facility. That's another thing. And then we farm everything at the same time, and that is why there's a clog. And once there is a clog, then definitely market will fall. Well, because of time, I don't want to go into that. Maybe subsequently we'll dwell on that and see what we can do to have a very good result to this effect. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gabriel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gabriel. And we have come to the end of today's webinar. So I want to thank each and every one of us, our participants, for being a part of this webinar and contributing. The FarmNet webinar, like I earlier said, is an initiative from Agro Prestiso targeted at us farmers to give us educational resources and give us everything we need to thrive in all of our agricultural escapades. So I thank each and every one of us for being here. If you check the chat box, we have already shared next month's webinar link with you, so you can just copy it out and save it and maybe on your phone or somewhere, or just click on it so that you have it. The next webinar would be hosted on the 21st of December. I repeat, the next webinar would be hosted on the 21st of December, which is a Sunday. So information will come across to you on the topic so that you prepare yourselves ahead of the 21st. So just copy this link and hold on to it, and subsequently you will get updates on that link. So I thank each and every one of you for being here. And also I want to thank our guest speaker, Mr. Wilfred Agaji, who has been a very good guest speaker. He has spoken to the topic with so much knowledge and resource. And personally, I've picked a lot of information from this. I've learned a lot from being here, both as a host and also as a participant. So, Mr. Wilfred, I thank you for taking out the time to being with us today.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. We look forward to having you again in the future on this webinar as our guest speaker or as a participant to contribute to the conversation.
You're welcome anytime.
Yes, sir. So once again, I thank everybody. Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at AgroP Group. AgroP Group. It's in the chat box. If you check, you would see it. In case you missed the spelling, AGROP GROUP. AgroP Group. So follow us on all the social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn for more information. And then if you want to ask questions with regards to farming, you can email us at info@agrop.co. It's in the chat box as well, info@agrop.co. So, okay, someone is asking for the link. I would paste it again just so that we can all see it. Is the last message in the chat box. Please check. Yes. So just save that link and you could use that link at the next webinar on the 21st of December. So I thank you all for being here, and I look forward to seeing each and every one of us again. The video of this webinar will be shared to our email tomorrow. So please just sit tight and we expect it. You will get the link shared with you where you can watch this webinar again in case you miss the early stages of the webinar. You can just go back and watch it on YouTube. So have a wonderful evening, everyone, and please, we'll look forward to seeing you at the next webinar. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.